Well, Adam, we're better than the record says. It's historically giving up the most points through 4 games in NFL history. It's always something. How long? How long do we just kind of like let the excuses build up? But all those same old Lions people, Jeff, they are laughing. Oh, look at this. They scored the most points through 4 games and gave up the most. Oh, of course.
We should not be having a conversation 4 games in about doing a complete mix-up on the defensive end for the staff.
Very frustrating few weeks. The Lions haven't been winning games. They're now 1-3.
Yeah.
I don't really want to go into detail on why or how they lost certain games, but I want to address it as honestly as I can. So you understand, 1, where my frustration comes from, and 2, hopefully now that you understand it, we don't confuse the two. There's a difference between frustration and wanting people fired, right? I am frustrated that your football team is 1-3. Last I checked, Jeff, because 3 out of the 4 games, I believe they were the better team. 1 of which they won. They were better than Washington. They were better than Minnesota. Tough to say they were better than Seattle, but the offense put up 45. I mean, what am I supposed to do with that?
And I would say they're better than Seattle.
So now I have to do shows on Mondays, Tuesdays with you, and the Lions are now 1-3. I had them winning 7 games. And what I asked for, player development, coaching improvements, right? Coaching not costing their team late. There's going to be games where teams are just better than you guys. That's fine. We can live with that. We can all live with it in this room. You can all live with it at home. That's the reality of football too. Sometimes the other team is just better than you. Okay. But the fact that you're 1-3, playing Philly, Washington, Minnesota, and Seattle, and now on the road to Foxborough, that is so infuriating. Not because I think you're going to make the playoffs or I think you're a division contender. No, that was not the expectation for Dan. The pressure I'll put on Dan Campbell has nothing to do with that win-loss record. It has everything to do with how you keep losing games. If it's not you blowing a 4th quarter lead, Jeff, if it's not you kicking an onside kick and giving them an extra possession or calling a timeout and letting them rethink it, if it's not any of that, Jeff, you know what it is? It's historically giving up the most points through 4 games in NFL history. It's always something. And that is what's frustrating. Again, I am not asking for the 15th ranked defense in the NFL. Hell, the 18th. Hell, the 20th. I'm just asking for improvement. I've seen it on the offense. I'm not seeing it at the top level coaching, and I'm not seeing it on the defensive side of the ball. So you ask me, well, Adam, why are you frustrated? That's why. And what was the conversation going into the year? How long do you have Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn for, right? Ben Johnson has proven his worth. Somehow, some way, Aaron Glenn, who, again, last year had 6-7 games where he coached up his team. They had no business being in those games. Aaron Glenn did that. Dialed up the pressure on Kyler Murray and the Cardinals. Dialed up pressure towards the end on the Minnesota Vikings. Found ways. The Steelers game, the Browns game, whatever it may be, the Ravens. Going into the offseason, we were talking about Aaron Glenn potentially getting a head coaching job. And now 4 games into the year, he somehow historically has the worst defense through 4 games in NFL history. It doesn't add up. And that is what kills me. If you lose to Philly, I can come in here and talk about the football game. No problem. Philly's a better team. All right. Even though you blew 3 possessions in that game, but, we're not going to talk about that. Washington, dominating. Well done. Minnesota, you dominated them. Couldn't put them away. Blew it late. The same things that happened last year. Seattle, to give up 48 to Seattle. With that offense, missing Amon-Ra St. Brown, DeAndre Swift, DJ Chark, Hawkinson's career day, Goff playing phenomenal. I am tired of them finding ways to lose games. That's all they know how to do right now. Is that to say they can't go on the road right now and get Dan Campbell's first win as a head coach on the road? No. They absolutely have a chance. The New England offense isn't potent. It's really the defense that you're a little concerned about. So can your offense show up? And on top of it, Jeff, that doesn't mean that through 8 games they can't be 3-5, or through 10 games they can't be 4-6.
Right.
But who am I to say they can't? But when we talk about progress and moving forward and getting better and talking about a team next year where we can say, hey, they're going to compete for the division.
When they haven't
I
won
look
a road
at coaching.
Game. Yeah.
You can look at talent. I look at coaching. Do I think this team is not as talented as some of the other teams in the league? Yeah, of course. Of course you still need a few pieces on defense. Of course I think Anzalone's a bum. Of course I think you're getting no pressure on the defensive front from anybody. And Aiden Hutchinson, who is a rookie, is basically on an island on himself, who is not delivering at the moment. Of course I think that. Of course I think your secondary players are sketchy. They're not even good. Yes, you have a ton of work to do, but go look at the Atlanta defense. Go look at their roster. Put it side by side with Detroit's. You would take Detroit's. They somehow find a way the last 2 games to win their games and find a way to hold Seattle to 20 points and hold Cleveland to 20 points. Mm-hmm. I'm not asking for much. Give your offense a chance to win the game for you. Jared Goff, he was mic'd up. Get the onside kick, we're winning this game. I believe that. The problem is, I really got to deal with 48 on the board. It's always something every week. And that's where my frustration is building up, Jeff. It's not so much that they're 1-3. If you told me they were 2-2 right now, they lost to Minnesota, even though they blew it, and they lost to Philly, I think you are very optimistic about this team going into Foxborough and winning that football game, especially without their starting quarterback. But no, the conversation is, oh man, you know, they blew this one, they gave up way too many things, How long? How long do we just kind of like let the excuses build up? And again, I'm not saying fire Dan Campbell.
Right.
Hell, I'm not even going to say fire Aaron Glenn right now. What I'm telling you is, you can't be 1-3, playing that way, scoring the most points and giving up the most. And I am not a SOL guy. I hate it. I think it's stupid. But all those same old Lions people, Jeff, they are laughing. Oh, look at this. They scored the most points through 4 games and gave up the most. Oh, of course. Why? Why? I could get Vic Fangio in here to do a better job on defense. What more could you ask from this offense? And again, I can give Dan Campbell praise for getting the offense right with Ben Johnson. But do I absolve him from criticism for the defense? Jeff, I'm in a tough spot because, again, I want to see, going into the 3rd year, you competing for the division. So far, I've seen 3 games where you coached yourself out of games. Really 2. I wouldn't say 3. It's not fair of me to say 3. We'll say 2. Although if you want to say the defense in the Seattle game, I would agree. But can't have it.
No,
can't have it. And look, there's still, 13 games left. It's a long season ahead. Does it make it okay?
No, I'm with you there. I think the frustration comes from, and I could definitely agree with this, is the fact that even last year, dating back to last year, during Dan Campbell's tenure, you haven't been able to have both sides of the ball clicking at once. That's been the issue. Like last year, we talked about the defense and how they were keeping this offense in a lot of games. The offense wasn't able to close a lot of these games. Now this year, you have the number 1 offense in the worst defense in the league. And I think that speaks to some of the frustration. You have an offense right now that's ready to contend for the NFC North, I think. I think you have one of the best, if not the best, offenses in the NFC North, but your defense is dead last. Your defense is dead last in the entire league. So that's where the frustrating part is the offense is overachieving so much or playing so well that I think expectations for fans start to go all over the place. Because for me, I mean, I still have them at 7-8 wins like you. I think they could still reach that mark. I think their offense can still get there. But their defense, though, Like that's the issue. I didn't know how bad they would be on defense, and you could call it an Aaron Glenn, you can call it a personnel issue, a youth issue, but the overall the fact of the matter is this defense has to be better. I mean, you can go through these defenses in the NFL. Look at some of the worst defenses right now currently in the league, and you can't tell me the Lions have the least talent or don't lack the most talent. There's no reason for it. So for me, I think the frustration definitely stems from that offense being so far ahead of schedule that you shouldn't be 1-3. There's no way. I mean, right now, if we went through our predictions, which me and Mike did on Jeff and Gentry, I had him at 2-2. There's no excuse. There's no excuse.
It's not that you're one game off.
No, it's how they lost these games. That's the problem, the context. When your offense is playing this well, I mean, you score 35, 36, 24, and 45, and you're 1-3. I mean, that's the issue we're having. So we'll see. It's very early in the season. I'm not going to sit here and say the entire season's over. I didn't really have them in the playoffs to begin with, so I don't think they'll still be in there. But if you go win 6, 7, 8 wins, your season's not completely over. But it's how they're losing these games. I'm with you, Adam. It's not, they lost to the better team. They fought like hell, but they lost. There's been a lot of conversation over defensively. You could talk about different decisions that were made. That's what's frustrating, and I can agree with you. We should not be having a conversation 4 games in about doing a complete mix-up on the defensive end for the staff and talking about how bad this defense is. We're only 4 games in.
Guys, I really don't think you understand how much better you have it than teams around the league. Let's go to the Houston Texans defense. Jonathan Grenard, Malik Collins, Roy Lopez, Jerry Hughes. I'm not even going to say his name. Jalen Reeves-Maben is his backup at linebacker. Christian Kirksey, Blake Cashman, Steven Nelson at corner. Jonathan Owens, Jalen Petrie, and then Derek Stingley.
Petrie, Stingley, and Kirksey.
They're rookies.
3 players.
They're rookies.
And 2 of them are rookies. Yeah.
You want to go to the Atlanta defense? Let's go to the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons line up with Traquan Graham, Anthony Rush, Grady Jarrett, Arnold Ebiketie, Mikael Walker, Rashawn Evans. He's a rookie, by the way.
Yeah,
Lorenzo Carter. The one standout player, A.J. Terrell. I agree 100%.
Deion Jones?
Deion Jones.
He's a stud. But other than that, you're right. It's pretty...
And Casey Hayward.
Not a ton of depth. Casey's older now at this point.
A few.
Yeah.
There are defenses. Here, I'll pull one out of my... Give me a bad team you don't like in the NFL right now.
Bears!
The Bears?
That's fine.
They have Roquan Smith,
they have actually
right?
pretty good defense.
Let's say the Seattle Seahawks defense.
Yeah, let's pull them up. Jordan Brooks.
Shelby Harris, Al Woods, Poona Ford, Darrell Taylor, Jordan Brooks, Cody Barton, Mike Jackson, Josh Jones, Quandre Diggs, Tarek Woolen. It's not like you're the only team that's missing depth and talent on defense. Now, granted, some of those players on a given team, let's say Quandre Diggs in Seattle or Grady out in Atlanta, really good players. I'm not saying these teams don't have 1 or maybe 2 really good players. But across the board, it ain't much. And they find ways to get off the field, right? And that is this week's pent-up frustration. Is all these teams find a way to get off the field? You can't. All these teams find a way to score 20 points and win a game. You can't. You score 45 and find ways to lose.
Yeah, is the Lions' defense 20 points worse than the Atlanta Falcons? If you want to say the Falcons is slightly better, that's fine. But are they 20 points, really almost 28 points better? I don't see that.
And where I'm getting at with the roster comparison or everything else is, guys, everybody in the league is dealing with this, okay? I can agree with all of you at home. It's not the most talented defense. They're still missing 2, 3 really good players. 100%.
Right.
What did we talk about going into the year? Your offense would carry you. Your offensive line, your run game. You would be a pain in the ass to play against. And what do you get through 4 games? You're 1-3. You're not really much of a pain in the ass to play against outside of the offense. The defense, everybody just walks over it. And in the biggest moments, your defense finds a way to give up the big play. You want to blame it on Glenn? Do you want to blame it on Dan Campbell? I'm not in the blame game business right now. It's not November. I told you guys all last year and in the offseason. November
Tell
of
me
this
in
upcoming
November.
year.
Oh, boy.
Talk to me in November.
Go Lions.
The Lions can very well win 3 of their next 4, let's say. They beat New England. They beat Dallas. They lose to Green Bay or whatever it may be. They beat Miami because Tua's not there. You never know. Who am I to say? But what I have in front of me right now is a 1-3 football team that I think is better than their record. And that is frustrating. And no, that's not a sign of, oh, well, Adam, we're better than the record says. No. Win football games. Win football games.
Get a stop. That's all.
It doesn't take much to turn it around in the NFL. I brought up the Bills yesterday. Sean McDermott, they hire him. They have a pretty decent defense. An okay offense with Tyrod Taylor as their starting quarterback. They go 9-7. Brandon Beane comes in. Same time as McDermott. Brandon Beane's first draft, Josh Allen. Boom.
Best quarterback in the league. Go Bills.
Well,
Super Bowl.
but that was an investment pick, right? That wasn't even.
Yeah, he didn't look like the best
He
quarterback.
wasn't that, and they
year
go
one.
6-10 that year.
Right.
But even beyond that, forget the record. If I go to, God, my computer's freezing up on me right now.
Wonder why.
Because of you. If I go to,
Thank you.
Fish, I love you, buddy.
Love
So
you too.
that year, Josh Allen, Tremaine Edmonds, Harrison Phillips, those are players that they got. Next year, Ed Oliver, Dawson Knox, Devin Singletary. The following year, Gabe Davis, Tyler Bass, AJ Espinoza, Gregory Rousseau. I am not worried about your team drafting and stacking picks. Your first 2 years, you have Amon-Ra St. Brown, Penei Sewell, Aiden Hutchinson, Jamison Williams. Now, you want to bring up players that have played and showcased their talent? Fine. Take out Aiden, take out Jamison. Let's just go to your last year's draft class. St. Brown, Penei Sewell. What? Those are 2 Pro Bowl caliber players. I don't think many teams are able to pull that off. And the good teams do. That's a good start. And this year, you're hoping it's Aiden. You're hoping it is Jamison Williams. It'll be there. It'll get there. But I don't want to hear, oh, well, we need time. Time? Time. You don't have time in the NFL. And it's starting to become like that in college football. Wisconsin just fired a coach who had won the Big Ten, West. 60-plus wins, 60+% win percentage. And Wisconsin,
Harsh life.
do you even think they're ever going to be much than what they were? No, not good enough. How about Ed Orgeron? Wins the national championship, not even 19 months later. Out. Bye-bye. Boom. Gone. That's the business. So no, nobody has time. You can sign 5-year deals. Matt Rule signed a 8-year deal? Mm-hmm. Now he's done. He'll be done soon.